Coming up next on the Rockbridge Report, the Justice Department says Virginia violated election laws by throwing out over 1,000 ballots the Commonwealth deemed suspicious. And later, a dog found alive after surviving 6 days under the rubble of a home explosion.
The fact that they put so much water on the fire when it was actually going for the dog to survive is pretty remarkable.
Then our own Cammie Knott tells us to expect colder weather next week. After that, the story of a Lexington man leading ghost tours for a good cause. All that and more coming up right now on the Rockbridge Report.
Live from the campus of Washington and Lee University with news from Rockbridge County, this is the Rockbridge Report.
Welcome to the Rockbridge Report. I'm Valentina Nunez.
And I'm Mackenzie Kane. The presidential candidates are crisscrossing the 7 battleground states in the final weeks before Election Day. Kamala Harris and Donald Trump are both working to appeal to any undecided voters, but polling shows the majority of voters have already decided who they will vote for. And with early voting underway, millions across the country have already cast their ballots. CNN's Julia Benbrook reports.
With just 2 weeks until Election Day, former President Donald Trump and Vice President Kamala Harris tailor their appearances and messaging to a shrinking group of available voters.
We stand on the verge of the 4 greatest years in the history of our country.
I believe that when we think about who we are as the American people, there is more we have in common than what separates us.
Early voting is underway in most states, and as of Tuesday morning, nearly 16 million ballots had already been cast.
I think everyone realizes this is probably one of the most important elections they're going to have in years, and then when they get it done.
I wasn't even really thinking about voting early, except for the fact that my daughter's back from college for fall break, so I just figured I'd go with her.
While Democrats had a wide advantage over Republicans in pre-election voting 4 years ago, there's some evidence that the gap may not end up being quite so wide this year. Trump's campaign is making a last-minute push to advocate for early and mail-in voting, despite years of the former president falsely painting these methods as dangerous and fraudulent.
Trump has changed his tune for obvious reasons because he needs those votes and wants to get people out. And some people just can't get out on one particular day.
Polls continue to show there's no clear leader in the race for the White House. Reporting in Washington, I'm Julia Benbrook.
More than 1,600 Virginians have had their voter registrations canceled since August under a state program that the U.S. Justice Department and advocacy groups say is illegal. The Justice Department says Virginia is violating a federal law by removing the alleged non-citizens during a 90-day quiet period designed to protect legitimate voters. The state contends that removals only happen when voters voluntarily disclose their non-citizen status to the Department of Motor Vehicles. The program came from an executive order by Governor Glenn Youngkin in August. In Lexington, 4 candidates are running for 3 spots on the city council this November. Incumbents Marilyn Alexander and Leslie Strawn are facing newcomers Madeline Robinson and John Driscoll. The candidates are focused on city problems such as lack of affordable housing and outdated infrastructure. Read Bella Timmerning's story at rockbridgereport.wlu.edu.
In Buena Vista, 2 candidates are running for 1 open city council seat. Stanley Coffey, a former city council member, says he hopes his experience will make him an effective leader. Jody Fix has not held local office and believes her fresh perspective will bring new solutions to old problems. Buena Vista is currently ramping up economic development programs that Mayor Tyson Cooper says he hopes the new councilor will continue. Check out Channing Schilling's story at rockbridgereport.wlu.edu.
Despite a lot of uncertainty looming over the oil markets, most U.S. drivers are seeing relief at the gas pump right now. Rockbridge County gas is 40 cents cheaper per gallon than it was a year ago. So what's pushing gas prices lower? Karen Kafa has the details from Washington.
Gas prices have ticked lower in most places in recent weeks, even in an environment with a lot of uncertainty.
We should see a slight decrease in gasoline prices going forward in the next month or two. And then a period of pretty relatively stable gas prices as things project into the springtime.
AAA's price tracker said that as of Tuesday, the nationwide average for a gallon of regular gasoline is $3.16, down 4 cents from 1 month ago. And Gas Buddy said Monday its tracker saw the median U.S. gas price slip below the $3 per gallon mark for the first time since early 2024. Ezra Peterson, senior director at AutoAppWay.com, says it's the season for lower gas prices as demand decreases from the summer months and as pumps in some parts of the country switch over to a winter blend that makes it easier to start a car in cold weather.
What that does is because you're using less crude oil in the refining process, the gasoline price itself is actually less sensitive to that crude oil wholesale price.
Peterson says U.S. gasoline prices have become less dependent upon swings in the global oil markets in recent years as the nation's refining capacity has expanded and reserves have been stable. Crude oil prices close to $70 per barrel recently have also helped to keep those prices at the pump in check. In Washington, I'm Karen Kafa.
The Virginia Horse Center is diversifying and expanding its schedule of events while trying to reduce the debt it owes to the federal government and a local bank. The Rockbridge Report's Liz Trubeck is live at the Horse Center. Liz, what can you tell us about these new events?
Well, Mackenzie, the Horse Center's had a big year so far. Between its 4,000-seat arena and outdoor dressage courses, the venue now hosts softball tournaments, Christmas basket making, and BMX bike racing. Horse Center CEO Stephen Shank said the need for new events came after therapeutic rides and horse shows saw lower turnout. The Horse Center must repay 2 loans from the U.S. Department of Agriculture and Cornerstone Bank. Shank says he hopes the wider variety of events will regularly pack the Horse Center and help alleviate debt. Shank also said he hopes to add 20 more days of events to the 2025 schedule. Check out my full .wlu.edu. Back to you, Mackenzie.
Thanks, Liz. Coming up on the Rockbridge Report, renovations for handicap accessibility at Jordan's Point offer new opportunities for local artists.
So public art is really important. And even though there are a lot of artists here, doesn't seem to be a lot of public art.
And later, a Loudoun County man will face criminal charges after an explosion killed a firefighter in February. All that coming up on the Rockbridge Report. Welcome back to the Rockbridge Report. Local artists will paint new benches and trail seating as part of renovations at Jordan's Point Park. Alejandra Pacheco has the story.
Lexington local artists are excited by the prospect of collaborating with the city to work on the renovations in Jordan's Point Park. Renovations in the park by the Public Works Department have been ongoing since 2023. Last year, workers finished a river walking trail and built a gravel pathway for individuals with disabilities. Now, the city plans to build additional trail seating spaces, a picnic area, and improve access to the River Launch Road.
But the 3 main focus areas are to do some stadium seating, some ADA access so that folks can get down to the river's edge.
Artists will design the benches and trail seating. Bill Kludge, a Lexington artist who worked as a NASA graphic illustrator and designer for 34 years, is interested.
I want to be sure that there were enough different types of styles of art to make it interesting that people would want to take the time to see it all.
Other artists, like Tim McMahon, a Lexington local landscaper, believe the project could be an opportunity for the city to develop more art in public spaces.
So public art is really important. And even though there are a lot of artists here, doesn't seem to be a lot of public art.
The art business in Lexington is unusually large, with 4 galleries just downtown. This project will allow artists to upgrade the city's public spaces. Public Works hopes to begin working with the artist early spring this year. For the Rockbridge Report, I'm Alejandra Pacheco.
We've got good news from the scene of last week's home explosion in Haymarket. A family dog has been found alive after surviving 6 days under rubble. After a gas leak caught fire and leveled the property, Brandy the dog was presumed dead. CNN's Matthew Torres has the miraculous details.
Firefighters tell me they are surprised that the dog is still alive, but certainly this is really good news, especially after what these families and the community had to go through last week. I'm being told that the dog was found on the other side of this property at the back corner on the ground underneath parts of the wall and the roof. I'm also told an insurance inspector was combing through this property this morning when that person heard 6-year-old Brandy barking. Neighbors who have been in close contact with the dog owner says she suffered minor cuts and burns but is expected to make a full recovery. This was a big moment for next door neighbors, ecstatic that this dog has been found. They've also been helping search for 2 cats who are still missing. Firefighters returned this afternoon with shovels in hopes of finding the cats. So far, no sign. Last Tuesday, a contractor replacing a water line ruptured a gas line to this house. A gas leak sparked a house explosion soon after residents had to evacuate. And luckily, no one was hurt. Fire marshals are still investigating the exact source of ignition. Brandy dropped or thrown away from the second floor where she was staying with one of the families renting this home.
It was a surprise, right, that a dog was able to survive that long with no food and water. It was cold at night, and the fact that they put so much water on the fire when it was actually going for the dog to survive is pretty remarkable. When you have structural collapse, you have void space that creates livable conditions for anything that may be trapped in there. And call it lucky or unlucky, the dog was in one of those spaces.
And the community is still rallying together and raising funds for the families impacted. And one way to do so is through electronic donations to the Piedmont Charitable Foundation. In Haymarket tonight, I'm Matthew Torres, WUSA 9.
The man investigators say was responsible for a February home explosion in Loudoun County is now facing criminal charges. Roger Bentley worked for a company that supplies propane and other energy sources to homes. Prosecutors say he is responsible for a 500-gallon underground propane tank leak at a suburban Washington, D.C. home. He allegedly released hazardous material improperly and did not document the action correctly. When fire officials were called to the home for reports of a gas leak, the propane ignited. The resulting explosion killed 45-year-old volunteer firefighter Trevor Brown. It also injured 13 others, leveled a home, and damaged 6 other structures. Charges against Bentley include involuntary manslaughter. Rockbridge County Public Schools' ESL program serves 79 students, including 46 who immigrated to the United States in the last 3 years. The county has two ESL teachers, and the U.S. Census Bureau reports the Hispanic population in Rockbridge County increased by about 200 people from 2022 to 2023. With the current staffing, the lone elementary ESL teacher serves 4 schools. Read Juliana Stevenson's story at rockbridgereport.wlu.edu. Coming up on the Rockbridge Report, more damage to beachfront homes in Virginia and North Carolina in the wake of Hurricane Helene.
We need to de-incentivize building and additional development along these most vulnerable shorelines.
This is Cammie Knott with the Rockbridge Report. We've had a very beautiful couple of days here in Lexington, but is the week before Halloween shaping up to be the same? We've got the details on my forecast.
Welcome back to the Rockbridge Report. On the North Carolina coast, Mother Nature is affecting oceanfront homes in Rodanthe again, following recent hurricanes. But now, neighbors wonder why rapid erosion is happening there more compared to the rest of the Outer Banks. CNN's Will Thomas reports.
It's no longer I just have a little erosion and not as much beach to lay my towel. It's I lost my porch. The pool was taken by the ocean.
Reed Corbett has called the Outer Banks home since 2012 and has studied coastal systems for more than 2 decades. He says barrier islands like the Outer Banks work and maintain themselves in 3 ways: currents that move water and sand, inlets which move sand on the front and back of islands, and overwash. When it comes to erosion, Corbett says there are plenty of hot spots on the Outer Banks, but Rodanthe is the worst.
It's an area that has a high erosion rate, 10 to 15 feet per year of erosion.
A problem only made worse by storms. A few this year have played a role in 5 houses collapsing into the ocean, an issue that Corbett says will not go away.
Whether we like it or not, it's likely a precursor to what's going to happen more along the Outer Banks and along many coastal communities throughout the U.S.
That opens the question of what can be done. Some areas in the Outer Banks are able to push the envelope for years through beach nourishment, but even if there was a project in Rodanthe, Corbett shares it wouldn't have a real impact on stopping what's happening.
We need to provide incentives to back off of that shoreline. We need to de-incentivize building and additional development along these most vulnerable shorelines. The baseline should be do no harm. Do no more harm.
Corbett says collaboration is key between locals, homeowners, insurance companies, and the government.
And it's not going to be a win-win for everybody, and that's something that we have to get comfortable with.
You know, Mackenzie, as Halloween approaches, I'm just waiting for the weather to get colder. I'm so confused what's happening.
You know, my biggest fear growing up was having to put a coat on over my Halloween costume, Cammie. Hopefully the local trick-or-treaters won't have to deal with that same problem.
You know, Mackenzie, growing up, I had the exact same fear, but I do have some good news for our Lexington kids. As I take you guys into a live shot of the Virginia Horse Center, let's get into some more details. So as we get into our current conditions here in Lexington, we've got a beautiful day today, high of 70 and a low of 34. Barometric pressure holding at 30 7/100 inches. And if you notice some more leaves on the ground today, the wind speed was definitely the culprit. We've had winds of up to 10 miles per hour today, but right now it's only 8. Humidity is relatively low right now at 35%. And as we take a look at our radar, nothing but beautiful, clear skies. Now let's take a look at our region as well. Getting into our temperatures, we've got Stanton, Buena Vista, and Lexington at a beautiful, beautiful 66 degrees right now. Charlottesville is at 68, so not much difference there. And farther south, Lynchburg is a little bit warmer at 71 degrees right now. And then as we move farther west, Covington is a lot cooler, 60 degrees, and Roanoke, a lot warmer like Lynchburg, 70 degrees. And as we take in a look at our 5-day forecast, tomorrow's going to be another beautiful day, high of 73 and a low of 49. So tomorrow evening or afternoon is going to be the perfect time to jump into some of those leaves that I was talking about. Saturday, high of 72 and a low of 36. So tomorrow night is going to be a lot warmer than Saturday night. But as we take a look at the beginning of our week, we're going to see a little bit of a dip in our temperatures. High of only 61 on Sunday and a low of 34. Monday is going to be very similar, high of 62 and a low of 36. But Tuesday is where we start to see it increase again, high of 67 and a low of 44. But as we get into midweek, we're going to see those temperatures increase even more just in time for Halloween and all that trick-or-treating. Back to you, Mackenzie and Valentina.
Coming up on the Rockbridge Report, Washington and Lee men's soccer tied with Roanoke College last night, and Devin Bateman has winning scores from your favorite local teams.
And later, Lexington ghost tours for a good cause. Stay with us.
Welcome back to the Rockbridge Report. Breaking news out of California, prosecutors will recommend Eric and Lyle Menendez be resentenced for their 1989 killings of their parents in the family's Beverly Hills home, providing the brothers with a chance at freedom after 34 years behind bars.
You know, that is some pretty intense breaking news, but also on a little bit more of a happy note, as Cammie just told us, colder weather is near, which also means the start of basketball season.
That's right, Mackenzie. You know, as a LeBron fan, I recently heard that his son Bronny's just joined him in the league. Devin, can you tell us anything more about that?
Yeah, I'd love to. A lot of good news. LeBron James and his son Bronny made history on Tuesday. They became the first father-son duo to play together in a regular season NBA game. The pair led the Los Angeles Lakers to a 110-103 victory against the Minnesota Timberwolves. The game was Bronny's NBA debut. The younger James was selected by the Los Angeles Lakers 55th overall back in June at the 2024 NBA Draft. In local sports, Washington and Lee men's soccer tied with Roanoke College 2-2 at last night's home game. Our own Mackenzie Kane has the story.
Good evening, Rockbridge. I'm here at Washington and Lee's Watt Field, where the Generals men's soccer team extended their undefeated streak with a nail-biting tie against Roanoke College. And joining me here on field is game MVP Wamy Agbe. Now, Wamy, safe to say tensions were pretty high this game, but you are smiling ear to ear right now. I have to assume it's because of that game-tying goal in the last 2 minutes.
Oh yeah, of course. I mean, I saw it. Like we got the first one. We were kind of hyped up. The crowd was getting back into it. The second one came across, I looked up, looked like it was a possibility for me to score, and I just kind of took it, and then I don't really remember much about that. Ran back to the teammates, and then just like tried to finish the game off.
Now, this is the first game in the team's past 10 where you guys have actually trailed at the half. So what were the conversations being had on the sidelines to sort of spark a fire in the team?
Honestly, like we came into the half not too upset because kind of their goal was against the run of play. We felt like we've been playing well, and obviously these games are always going to be pretty unpredictable. So we kind of made sure we had to just like keep our grounds, make sure we're still doing what we need to do, and then like try to get another one.
With the ODAC tournament just a week away, what is the mentality of the team right now?
Honestly, just trying to take it step by step. I mean, we still have 2 more games left in the regular season. There's going to be a lot of shakeup because like seeding and all that, playoffs makes a big part of how like teams play an ODAC tournament. But honestly, just like trying to make sure we win out and get home field advantage so we can hopefully win another ODAC championship.
Well, Amy, congratulations on a phenomenal performance tonight. And signing off with the Rockbridge Report, I'm Mackenzie Kane.
Washington and Lee women's soccer is ranked number 12 in the nation after a 4-0 win at Eastern Mennonite University on Wednesday. Generals volleyball is up to number 16 in the nation after also beating Eastern Mennonite University in straight sets on the road. VMI football dropped their 7th straight game after losing to the Citadel 13-10 at home on Saturday. And VMI men's soccer fell on the road to Furman 4-1 Saturday in a SoCon matchup. Southern Virginia University football picked up their first win of the year in a 21-17 victory at Methodist in North Carolina, while the Knights volleyball lost their first match since September after failing to beat Greensboro College in 4 sets. Rockbridge County High School football was on a bye last week, but luckily, the Wildcat volleyball made up for the missing excitement with a home game win versus Spotswood High School 3-1. Perry McClure football won their 5th game of the year on the road against Craig County 37-6 last Friday. And finally, Fighting Blues volleyball also beat Craig County in straight sets on the road on Monday. That's all for sports. Back to you, Mackenzie and Valentina.
Thanks, Devin, for that sports update. Lexington residents and visitors can get a good fright along with a tour of the city on Haunting Tales, a ghost tour of Lexington. The Rockbridge Report's Kate Keeley tagged along.
Mark Klein's Haunting Tales is not the typical tour of Lexington. For more than 25 years, Klein has guided participants around the city after dark while he shares ghost stories about local and historical figures. But Klein says it's unique, even for a ghost tour.
A lot of people don't expect it to be what it is. It's more street theater, it's more entertainment.
The tour includes stops around the city, including the Jackson House Museum and Grace Episcopal Church. He even takes participants into Oak Grove Cemetery.
But right now we're heading into the cemetery.
He tells stories about historical figures tied to the city, which Washington and Lee student Daniel Ryder says makes the tour special.
I think it's really cool that we live in such like a historic area in Lexington that, you know, the ghost stories aren't just, you know, sometimes random people, but, you know, historical figures that you've heard about.
One of his ghost stories focuses on Stonewall Jackson, the Confederate general buried in Oak Grove Cemetery. Grace Moyer, the Jackson House Museum site director, says she's never encountered any ghosts in her 20 years working at Jackson's former home. Klein says his goal on these tours is primarily to entertain. He also picks a cause each year to donate to.
I'm an entertainer because I realize how much joy that brings to people. And joy is a healing thing, and I really believe in that.
Klein held 4 benefit tours this month for Pat Connor, a Lexington resident who was recently diagnosed with cancer. After the Halloween season, Klein will take a break until May. The last night to join the tour is November 2nd. For the Rockbridge Report, I'm Kate Keeley.
That's all for the Rockbridge Report.
Thank you for watching.